Alright, hello there. I decided to put on put on my nice suit and tie tonight for you guys and make one video confessional for the end of the road here. This is going to be sort of a all-encompassing uh, tale of my journey from the beginning of this game all the way to now at Final Tribal Council. I've written up no script for this aside from a little outline, so we're just going to wing it and see how this goes. I'm pretty excited to give it a shot. I think it's going to be a fun time. But I guess going all the way back to the start, applying for this season, I've considered going out for I think every Smorgon season since season 13. I thought about doing 14. I thought about signing up for 16, and each time it was a timing concern where I was busy doing other things at the time and I wasn't gonna be able to give my full attention to either 14 or 16. So I'm very glad I didn't, because obviously this one's turned out so well for me. But I applied for season 17 because I finally had a bit of a free bit of activity here. Figured I could give it a shot. I've always wanted to play an org that AJ Hockeystar hosted because he's been such a good friend of mine for so many years. Shout out to you, AJ. Thank you for casting me for this season. They did troll me a little bit on the cast reveal. I was the very last one revealed, but I did enjoy the pun. I think I'll scroll up on Discord and find it real quick. Because we were the Minior tribe, so we had the shooting stars as our little intro to our tribes. So when Mr. Go Cubs announced me, you know, it is a rock type, and they're shooting stars. Maybe I'll make it more super. Just, amazing. Nothing less than the best from this hosting team at all times. They never miss, as they say. Very excited to get cast. I was, put onto the lovely Minior tribe, as has been memed up quite a bit throughout this game. If I had to be honest, I would probably say Minior was my least favorite OG tribe that I've ever been on in any org ever. It was fairly miserable, honestly, and there's a reason why I almost didn't survive it, but my first impressions, my impressions of everyone through the Minior tribe, that was obviously where I met Leafy. And right off the bat, we clicked pretty well. I remember we talked a lot about, sports that we were involved in, vacations that we'd gone on, stuff like that. And we came pretty close right away, because he was the most active person in the tribe by far. I actually do the second person I clicked with the most at the start, I think, or actually no, the second person was Adam, because there was a VC after that first challenge where he and Leafy and I all connected pretty well, and that was a pretty big moment for me, I believe, in terms of building their trust. But the third one was probably I think it's Scythian. I'm gonna pronounce it. Sorry if I mispronounce anyone's username through this. I've been reading them off to myself all season. It's been Scythian the whole time. So Scythian, I connected really well with him early on, and we had some good talks right off the bat. But nothing really like too crazy. Obviously, it was the very start of the tribe, and I was just kind of trying to settle in. But nobody was active, dude. I remember going through. I had neutral reads on like every single person on the trust ranking. So I'm like, I haven't talked about anything with you other than like the small talk at the very beginning. Alive was the same way. Talked to him once or twice. Never had anything. WK, I think we had literally had a single conversation before our first tribal. Siphicon, we talked, a little bit here and there, but he plays League of Legends, so kind of killed the conversation there. But we turned it around after the fact, of course. We won the first challenge, and I didn't do anything on it, which I guess rubbed Alive the wrong way, because obviously everyone has to try on the challenge, even though, I don't know, we were winning the whole time, so I just didn't put much effort into it. That's like my signature on pre-merge tribes. I don't really love to go all out on challenges if I don't have to, because I like to just hang out. I'm here for the social game. I'm not really here for the challenge part of the game. And that's sort of how that usually goes for me. We get to the first tribal, though, and I start to realize that the dynamics are not as open or fluid as I hoped they'd be. It became pretty obvious early on that there was a group of Hunbi, Adam, Alive that were kind of really tight-knit and were not going to vote each other. And that became an issue for me, because I think Alive was at the bottom for me. Aside, like, next to, like, WK. I think WK was also close in with them as well, so he was off the table as the first vote, which immediately meant that it was going to be, like, me, Siphicon, or Scythian, and Siphicon was, like, my number 3. Scythian no, Scythian was like my number 3. Sifficon was like my number 4 or 5, and I'm like, this isn't looking too good. I need to go. I think I went to Leafy, and I'm like, am I the first boot here? And he's like, people are throwing your name, but I don't think you'll be. I think it'll be Sifficon. And Sifficon made that a little bit easier on us by being just absolutely chaotic. I believe he threw Leafy's name, he threw Adam's name. He told Leafy to vote me, I believe, if he wanted to live. He was all over the place, and it just became pretty close to unanimous on Sifficon. I did lie to Scythian on that vote, and it ended up rubbing him the wrong way. But also, after that point, Scythian was sort of dead in the water, because after that he had the full public fight with everyone, and I think that was in Tribal. That was after we lost the meme challenge. This season, I might have made Final Tribal Council, but I lost the meme challenge, so honestly, the season's a loss. I can't even, if I can't win the meme challenge, it's over, dude. But that was during the day that tribal was the day that I drove to visit Joe Dirk in Boston, so I missed. That's the only live tribal council I haven't attended when I've gone to tribal this whole season. I was at every other live tribal except for that one. I think it was just unanimous Scythian. I don't really think there was much drama outside of the fighting, which was unfortunate, because I did want to work with Scythian in this game. He's one of the biggest regrets I have in this game, is that on Minior Tribe we weren't able to get anything done just because of how tight-knit that group of Hunbi, Adam Alive, and Leafy were. And yeah, that was just the unfortunate situation of it. And then after that we get to Final 20, which I have talked about extensively this season, because Final 20 it was honestly my turning point in the season. I usually don't have a turning point that early, but Final 20 was when it went from, oh, I'm playing on this crappy tribe, to, oh, I'm playing a game of Survivor, because we lost that challenge. We lost the challenge on Saturday, which was the day before Halloween. It was the 30th. And I was in Boston. I'm hanging out with Joe, Clouds, and Hannah. I'm not playing Survivor. I talked to Leafy a little bit, but I ghosted the whole tribe. I saw that there was a tribe VC of all 5 non-me people, and I'm like, alright, I'm dead in the water. I'm just going to enjoy my time at Boston, and I'm going to come back and I'll get 20th place, and it is what it is. Earlier on, though, in that season, that was when I was really doing those Zygarde cell hunts, back when they were called Zygarde cells, and I had a lot of fun with them. And there was the Fredboat nickname was I forget the guy, no, I forget the dude's YouTube channel, but it was whatever dude's 27th video. And the video was By My Bed. You enter the name By My Bed, it comes up with this budget dollar store temple run on the computer, and you have to get whatever amount of coins, and that got me 1 Zygarde cell. Then there was the Art Heist one, where it was the Rui Lopez chessboard in Season Information, I believe, and I solved that puzzle in like 2.5 hours one night, and then after the fact, Leafy came to me and he's like, hey, I found this Zygarde cell hunt, and I pretended to help him with the Zygarde cell hunt that I'd already solved, which was probably one of my favorite moments of the season. Also, I'm kind of trailing back because I forgot about Zygarde cell stuff. On the meme challenge, we submitted Platy's bio as one of our meme submissions, while Platy's bio had the clue for our unsolved Zygarde cell hunt on it, which I facepalmed. So I was trying to solve. That was the drop quotes puzzle, which I still haven't solved. I hope we get the solves for all those things after the season, because there were a few I didn't get. But that was really, really funny to see. We just submitted it as a meme chat. We hadn't solved the hunt yet. We just threw it out there as our meme. It was great. But Final 20, it's Sunday. The deadline is 7 p.m. I leave Boston around 3. Drop off Hannah at her house at like 5. So at 5 p.m. I'm sitting in a driveway in Rhode Island, an hour and a half, close to 2 hours from home. I'm not going to be on until about 30 minutes to deadline. That's really the only time I had. So the only time I had to send a message was at 2 hours to deadline in her driveway before I left. And I'm like, well, if I'm getting voted out, I considered quitting, actually. I actually considered just dropping, because there was nobody talking to me. It was the most frustrating thing in my life. And I asked Leafy, I'm like, is this, like, am I dead in the water? He's like, yeah, you're probably dead in the water. Everyone's just voting you. And I was like, guess that is what it is. I'll move on with my life, because, I don't know, I chose a vacation over that tribe, because that tribe never chose me over each other, so. But I got to thinking, I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, I've got 3 Zygarde cells. They're not of any use to me if I get voted out here. and I can't buy anything with them anyway, so why not try to use those to get myself safety? I ping the tribe, I go, right here, I'll pull up the exact, we'll pull up the exact message here, why not? Let's find it. We'll go to the old Tribal Council archive. We're doing it live. Oh, I love my parchment for this tribal. That was probably my favorite parchment. Honestly, I don't know who wins best parchment on that note. It could really be anybody. I mean, Hunbi would be a favorite for it if he didn't get voted out so early. Alright, here it is. So, I ping the whole tribe. I go, I've got 3 Zygarde cells. If anyone would like to keep me around and not vote me out, I'll give everyone who votes with me one of them. If not, I'm giving all 3 to someone on another tribe, which I would have done. I would have loved to give them to Leafy, but I wanted to make an ultimatum. I wanted to take a stand, and that was how I did. I'm like, if you guys vote me out, I'm going to make your lives in this game harder. I'm going to give 3 Zygarde cells to someone else. And I think that was actually probably the part of the ultimatum that hit them more. Because getting 1 Zygarde cell is not really a big, like, it's not going to change your whole game around, but 3 going to someone else could end up screwing you later on, so I think that's what kind of got people's attention. Then that's when Hunbi came to me and he's like, oh, who do you want to flip to? I'm like, I will flip to literally anybody. I just want to stay in the game. Adam came to me, said the same thing. I'm like, I could not, I mean, if I had to pick someone, it probably would have been Alive, but I had no choice. I had no options. I did whatever they told me to. And they were like, I think we can switch it to WK. Leafy's like, doesn't sound like anyone's flip. And I was like, alright, whatever. No big deal. Talking to Adam, though, he started to say things like, you know, I don't think me voting you out makes any sense because you had my back at the first tribal, which actually, because originally, it was people were trying to make it out as me versus Adam for the first vote. And I'm like, I came to Adam, I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to vote you out. I don't know why you would want to vote me out. Let's vote someone else out. And that's when we voted out Scythian. But at this vote, he was like, oh, you had my back there. I want to have your back now. I want to stick with you. How can we get 2 more votes? And I was, you know, I'm like, we need Hunbi, we need Alive is probably the most likely way to do it. And he went to work on Alive. I went to work on Hunbi. Hunbi decided, hey, if I got the votes, I don't mind keeping you. I would flip. No problem. Alive and Adam were super close. Adam was able to flip him because Alive didn't have a really big preference either, which meant suddenly it went from 5 votes on me to me, Adam, Leafy, Hunbi, Alive, all voting WK. Which actually, Hunbi actually voted Alive because he wanted to try to get WK's Zygarde cell. But anyway, it went from 5 votes on me to 5 votes not on me. I've completely flipped the game in 2 hours. I really don't know how it happened. I'm shocked it worked. I really thought I was getting 20th, all the way up until the actual vote reveal. I thought they were lying to me. I thought I was going out. The only reason I trusted it a little bit was because Leafy said, I think you actually flipped it. And Leafy, stand fucking Leafy, dude. I don't think Leafy lied to me once this entire game. And if he did, you know what? God bless him, because I've lied to him a lot more than he did anyways. So, bless that dude. Bless that tribal. That was probably one of my favorite. That's probably one of my favorite tribals I've ever been a part of in my org career. It was so fun. Just, you know, getting the entire flip pulled off. It was a really good time. After that, before I go to that, so if I had been voted out there, I said I would give, I think if anyone asked me, I told them I was going to randomize who got it on a different tribe, but at the time, I think I mentioned it to one of my friends in DMs. I was like, if I had been voted out there, I would have given my 3 Zygarde cells to Noodle. I had never met her before, but I'm like, I would give all 3 to Noodle here because I don't know, it was just, it's what I wanted to do at the time. But thank God, get through that tribal. And then we immediately swap. That swap was a lifesaver because I don't know if I could make it through one more tribal on Minior. And God, I was so glad for Minior to be over. And the main takeaway I got from there was that I'm ready to flip on this tribe at a moment's notice. I have very little loyalty to Hunbi, no loyalty to Alive really. And then Adam is like, obviously I liked him a lot more after that first vote, but I didn't know how far he'd have my back for. The only person I really would never flip on from there before merge was Leafy. And so going in the swap, I get Leafy and Hunbi with me, and then we start meeting some new people. We met Bernie, which obviously after today is a bit of a weirder name to say, but for the first month of this game, I loved Bernie. He was one of my favorite people to talk to. He was always just this bundle of joy. Had different nicknames for me all the time, called me S. I think he called everyone in the game baby, so I'm not going to act like I was special being called baby, but he called me, it made me feel good. He fed my ego, and that's what you gotta feed my ego sometimes. I'm sitting here in a fucking suit and tie. What do you think I don't have a freaking ego? Like, but Bernie was, you know, the first person I met outside of Leafy that gave me confidence that, like, all right, there's other people in this game that I can talk to and like enjoy talking to. It could be a fun time. So Bernie was a real fun person to meet in that respect, and I decided immediately I wanted to align with him and try to keep him around as long as possible. Also met Stoows there at that tribe. He and I clicked well pretty early because we're both alcoholics and bonded over that a little bit. We just had good talks in general. His time zone was a bit off, so sometimes we didn't get to talk as much as we wanted to. But he was one of the people that I kind of underrated in my own rankings because we did talk a lot. We talked game a lot. Like, he gave me a lot more than other people gave me, which was really fun to work with all the time. Nick was on that tribe. I got a good vibe from Nick. We didn't really do that much talking since what ended up happening was we formed a 5-person alliance of me, Leafy, Hunbi, Bernie, and Nick, and we just ran the whole tribe from there because the Bruxish wanted to target Nick at the first vote, and I'm like, Nick's cool, I don't want to vote Nick. Let's vote Duck, because Duck's in a British time zone and doesn't talk to anybody. So first vote ended up being Duck. At that point we had a stranglehold on the tribe, and I was never getting voted out, which was, that's what you kind of aim for pre-merge. Like, Minior was fun from a spectator perspective, but I did not have fun on that Minior tribe. I did not have any enjoyment out of being constantly in danger. It's not really what I like to have. So being on a Buzzwole tribe where everything was completely safe no matter what was a very good feeling. Crunch went on the second vote because he was good at challenges, and we didn't need to win challenges because we could have lost 4 challenges and I would have still stayed in the tribe and been fine. So that wasn't a big issue for me. And after the Crunch vote, I think either we won after the Crunch vote and then swapped, or after the Crunch vote itself we swapped. I forget exactly which one it was. I think we swapped after, because Crunch was 50th. So Crunch was 15th, then we swapped. Went to the Solgaleo tribe, and I remember being mad. I was driving to class when we swapped. And I remember being really mad that we swapped, because I'm like, I feel safe here. I can make it to merge on this tribe, and now we're swapping. Everything, like, I really thought I was gonna lose Leafy, and it was like that's on Solgaleo. But I really thought I was going to lose Leafy, and if I was on a different tribe from Leafy, my motivation to play this game would have tanked because he was my rock pre-merge. He was my favorite person to talk to. He was the person I talked to the most. I think before merge, I had just about as many messages with him as I did with the rest of the game. But luckily, got probably the greatest swap tribe that I've had. It went from the worst OG tribe to the greatest swap tribe. So we evened out down the middle on Solgaleo with Leafy, Hunbi, Adam, Bernie, and then Frodo and Apollo. Where no matter what, if we had gone to all 3 tribals like Lunala went, it would have been Frodo, then Apollo, and then honestly, I don't know if he would have had the beast balls to save himself, but there's a chance that if we're down to 4, if we're down to 7 or down to 5 on that tribe with me, Leafy, Hunbi, Adam, Bernie, there's a chance that we might have flipped on Bernie. I don't know if it would have been possible, but I know Hunbi had mentioned, like, he's a social player. We can't keep him around too long, and if we were down to 5 and we had to take someone out, it might have been me, but I think it could have been Bernie, which would have been interesting. But instead, it was the most boring. That was the part of the game when I took a big step back. I went camping during the Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes challenge. I don't even know how that challenge went. I just know that everyone kind of flopped it and we ended up winning, which is I think that's the name of the game for Solgaleo tribe was everyone flops and then we win. We had the presentation, the Ultra Beast presentation was so much fun. I didn't really do anything for the preparation for it. Hunbi made all the visuals. Stan Hunbi, dude, those visuals were on point. That's probably half the reason we killed it that much on the presentation, was just because the hosts they were too enamored with these wonderful visuals up on their screen that me stumbling over my words with Adam and Leafy was just, background noise, and it sounded better because they were looking at these wonderful visuals. But Adam and I both showed up about 15 minutes before the presentation. We're like, all right, what slides should we do? And Leafy's like, you do these 3, you do these 3, I'll do these 3, and we winged it. We literally winged it and killed that presentation. It was one of my most fun memories of this game. Was just our natural charisma winning over the hosts, even Platty, the harsh judge, giving us a high score on that one. But that was definitely a really fun time, and we ended up never going to tribal, which was probably not ideal for my game. I think I would have had an easier time at merge if we had lost at least one of those challenges and voted out Frodo. Because Frodo, I don't think was ever going to be close to me. He gave me a Beast Ball hunt randomly, or the clue to a Beast Ball hunt randomly on Solgaleo. I think I would have found it anyway because I was checking roles. I was checking the server roles all the time. But that one morning I hadn't checked them yet, and he sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, cool. So Frodo's interested in me enough to send me this, which I thought was. I don't think he sent it to sorry. I don't think they sent it to anybody else on the tribe. So I was sort of won over by that a little bit, but it ended up not mattering. We never went to tribal. We ended up merging at 11, and merge was obviously when the game really started. Like everything before then it happened, but it was, it obviously it's part of the game, but it's not going to matter for FTC. I think everyone's FTC case is going to, like, I can't go to FTC and be like, I survived the final 20 tribal by selling or giving away my 3s. No one's going to buy that. I'm not going to get any votes for that. It's all about merge. We merge at 11. I forget. Oh, it's me, Leafy, Hunbi, Adam, Bernie, Frodo, Apollo, Noodle, Coam, Payton, Stoows. The 3 new people I hadn't met before were Noodle, Coam, and Payton. Coam and we did not talk, I think, at all before, like, the day of tribal. We had, like, I think 2 messages. We said hi to each other and then never talked again. Payton and we hadn't talked until the second day of the Pokemon attack thingamajig challenge. I forget what it was called, with the defensive typing and you choose your attacks on the other players. I talked to him 4 or 5 hours to the submission deadline, and I was like, talking to him because he was way down. But he was way down. He was never winning the challenge, and I just wanted to talk and get to know him a little bit. And I mentioned that I was Ghost Dark type to him, and he did the homie move of using a poison type attack on me. It was a weak type that only took 2 HP off of me. That ended up being part of the difference why I ended up beating Coam for that challenge and won immunity. Who knows? I could have been the first merge boot. I don't think I would have been because I had people on my side on the other side, but it could have been me in 11th. But it gave me a lot of trust in Payton that he would make a move like that out of challenge. It might have been a social play for him to know, like, I don't care about this immunity. We can vote someone else out. I'll get SSR on my side, which if he did, then to his credit, it worked. So, got to see Stoows again, but we've already talked about Stoows. He becomes more relevant in a few votes, but Noodle. I meet Noodle at this merge tribe, and at the cast reveal, I remember the returnee names did stand out to me. I remembered Stoows as a returnee. I remembered Leafy as a returnee. I remember Navi, and I remember Noodle. Navi is the only person in this game that I've ever actually played in an org before with, and I voted her. It was in the original Big Viver, the 80-player Survivor Hal hosted. We were together at like final 45, and she went on vacation, and we all voted her out, and that was it. I never really talked to her. So I did want to get to meet her to see, maybe if we could link up a little bit. Never happened. Wasn't the case. So sad. Stoows, obviously, we got to meet. Leafy, I was obviously with this from start, but I had never met Noodle. And I know that my good friend Joe loves Noodle. I know that Zach is a big Noodle stan. All my good friends who have met Noodle love her. So I had a good feeling going in. Turns out the good feeling was more than accurate, because she had sort of the same knowledge of me. She knew of me, had never talked to me before, had heard good things. So we get there, we both had been fallen angels in our previous seasons, so that was a thing to bond over, and we clicked instantly at merge. It was pretty crazy. I've never had something happen like this in any org I've ever played, where someone I don't talk to all game get to merge and we become tight as any 2 people could be. I will not hesitate to call it the greatest Shadow Alliance in Smorgon history. You can feel free to call me on that, but I believe we're getting 1st and 2nd place, and I don't think many other pairs in Smorgon can say that they did that. So in that respect, I do believe our Shadow Alliance was top tier. For that first vote, though, if we're going to go down the timeline, we talked about it. I'm kind of spilling the dynamics to her, where I'm like, the Leafy, Hunbi are sort of the active people a lot, or Adam is kind of in the middle. We've apparently got Bernie on our side, which she obviously knew wasn't the case. And they think that they can flip Payton or Frodo to vote Coam, which was... I love you, Hunbi. If you're watching this, Hunbi, I love you, dude. But I wish I had the amount of confidence in my day-to-day life that you did about getting those votes on Coam, because I don't think it was ever happening. But we didn't. No, neither of us really like said who we thought was going. We both just decided it was better off for us not to vote together for that first vote, Noodle and I, and we decided to keep it just completely under the radar. We didn't want anybody to really be concerned that, oh, SSR Noodle is this new pair that's. I didn't mention it to anybody. I didn't mention it to Leafy. I think I mentioned Payton more to anybody else. I was kind of trying to divert attention and make it seem like Payton was my favorite from over there. And of course, the votes ended up coming in. It was 7-4 Adam, and Bernie also flipped and voted Adam, which was unfortunate, but I understood it, and I kind of expected it, which, you know, everyone, it's the, I swear, from the second I hit merge, people were just like, fuck Minior. That's like the one thing everyone was, I'm just like, what are we doing? We were the bad tribe. Like, it's like if season 13 they got to merge, and it's like Llamas and Zach, the Salazzle tribe, get out of here, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand why it was us that was targeted, but I guess we seemed like too overconfident of a group, and that's where the votes went at the start. So Adam went first. The second vote was Hunbi. I was pretty inactive during that, but the final 10 challenge was the murder mystery. I loved that thing so much. It was so much fun. I didn't really have much time. I read through it at the challenge start, and then for 23 hours I didn't really have much time to do it. So 1 hour to deadline, I pull up this notebook right here. I start taking notes on the people's testimonials and going through the evidence and stuff, and at about 6:55 it clicks. I'm like, I was the killer. I figured it all out, and it's like the last scene in The Usual Suspects. If you look it up, the big reveal of The Usual Suspects, where they put all the pieces together and they figure out the guy who had been sitting in the actually I won't spoil. It's a 30-year-old movie. Go watch The Usual Suspects. But at the ending, where everything gets pieced together right at the end, that's how it felt with me at that deadline, where I was like, oh, I know who the murderer is, and I put it all together. My Google Doc of it was like the most concise thing ever, and TML complimented it. I'm like, that's because I literally did not have time to type any more than what I did. And I ended up getting tied for second with Noodle on that challenge. Frodo freaking killed it. They got like almost every point, which good for them. Good for them, dude. I don't think it would have been Frodo regardless. I think it was always going to be Hunbi unless Hunbi won immunity. And so I was just kind of hoping that he didn't win immunity, because if not, then it might have gotten icky for me in 10th. In Final 10, I could have gotten 10th place. I don't think Noodle would have been able to protect me if Hunbi was immune. But luckily, Hunbi was not immune. Hunbi went in 10th. No, wait. I said that I only missed the Scythian. I also missed the Hunbi live tribal, because I was at a chapter meeting. So there were two live tribals that I missed. And I forget what the vote was. I believe it was something like 6-4 Hunbi. I don't actually remember, but regardless, he was gone. I was still there. At Final 9, it's me and Leafy against the world. Obviously, I've got Noodle on my side, but no one knows I have Noodle on my side, so everyone thinks it's me and Leafy against the world. And I think I played that up a good amount, because I was like, I don't want this to be the Minior massacre. I don't know why we're getting targeted for this so much. That was the vote where Stoows and Payton came to us, and they're like, hey, we want to keep you guys around. I don't think it makes any sense for us to want to take you guys out here. Let's go after Frodo here. Which was really funny, because we made the Leafy Me Stoows Payton alliance. It was called the Bruxiniors, the Bruxis Minior coalition against Komala. The only thing that alliance accomplished was voting out OG Bruxish member Frodo. That was the only thing that alliance ever accomplished. The anti-Komala alliance eliminated 0 Komalas, which is why you saw them all make it to the end of the game, of course. But get to Final 9, Frodo vote was pretty simple. Noodle was even on board for it, because I think there was talks of it going on Apollo, and she didn't want that, so she flipped it to Frodo. It became a Frodo vote. I believe it was 6 votes Frodo, 2 votes Leafy, and then Apollo voted me. That sounds right? Or maybe it was someone voting Leafy and 2 votes on me. I forget exactly what it was, but it was something like that. It was 6 votes Frodo. That's what mattered. Frodo goes. We're at Final 8. Final 8, originally what I wanted to see was Coam or Apollo in 8th, the other one in 7th, and get to a 6 of me, Leafy, Payton, Stoows, Bernie, Noodle, which sounds... That's a really stacked Final 6. there was no goats in that final 6 aside from maybe Payton, and even then Payton had a good enough social game where it wouldn't have been a true goat in that sense. He just would have been a goat compared to everyone else there. That's what I really don't. I don't have any interest in dragging goats to the end. I've played with people that try to just bring 2 people that'll get no votes. I don't agree with that. I wanted to try to go to the end with Leafy in this game. At final 8, I believe my ideal final 3, I talked to Leafy because I still wanted to go with Leafy, and I was really close with Noodle at this point. We had locked in our deal as it was, but I knew that she wouldn't want to go with Leafy, and I knew that I wanted to choose Leafy over her in the end because we committed to ride or die status around Solgaleo, so around 14 we committed, like, we're riding or dying here, and that's no matter what. So I wanted to go him with in the end. We talked about, what's our most logical path here. I think Apollo's gonna get no votes at the final tribal council. I think he still gets no votes at the final tribal council. Love you, Apollo. But I think also Payton would have been an underdog against the 2 of us at FTC. So the ideal was going to be try to get in a final 4 with us and one of Apollo, Payton, and then get to FTC with them. What ended up happening, or how we wanted to get that done, was obviously get Coam out in 8th, and then try to start maneuvering this Noodle, Bernie, Payton, Stoows thing at 7 and try to make it through. What ended up happening was, final 8, Stoows comes to us. He's like, all right, I have to start a tribal council. It was on Thanksgiving. Where I did not plan... the Thanksgiving challenge was the Ultra Beast battling challenge, which was anonymous. I forget. I think I faced Bernie first round, Stoows second round, and kind of skin of my teeth won both of those because I didn't practice at all. I just threw together a team and did my best. The one thing I did do, though, I brought Toxapex, as I spent like 6 of my beast balls to get, or 6 of my coins to get Toxapex. So I thought it was just a really funny meme to bring everyone's least favorite mon to play against to just annoy people as an intimidation tactic, if anything. And then looks at, to my surprise, I get to the finals. Noodle also brings the Toxapex, and she brought it all the way up to level 59 and just dominated me. I could have played that one better, but in the end it didn't end up mattering because I never got targeted at that vote, so it wasn't a big deal. We get to the trials. Stoows goes, I want to listen to whatever Noodle wants to do here, make it easy. She wants to go Coam, let's go Coam. And then he adds, at final 7, if she doesn't win immunity, we should go after Noodle. And I'm like, my number 1 in this game is Leafy. My number 2 in this game is Noodle. My number 3 was Stoows. But I'm sitting here, I'm like, we have been through the 3 votes that we had gone through, and Noodle had my back at all of them. She had told me whenever anyone brought my name up. And it would have felt really backhanded not to do the same for her with this Stoows comment. When I brought it up, I thought she was going to be okay with still going Coam at 8 and then flip it to Stoows at 7. But what ended up happening, of course, was she flipped shit there and ended up flipping the entire, not only the vote, but the entire tribe onto Stoows. It was a 7-1 Stoows vote, and this is why I believe it was in the end a smart plan for me, because it got revealed through that yes, Stoows wanted Coam in 8th, Noodle in 7th, and that's what he told us, of course. He's like, yeah, Coam in 8th, Noodle in 7th, then we run the game. At 6th, though, he had Payton, he had Apollo who wanted us gone, and he had Bernie who was committed to an easier FTC. And his plan was to take out me and Leafy in 6th and 5th, get to a final 4 of Bernie, Apollo, Payton, Stoows, get Bernie out at 4th, get to final tribal of Stoows, Payton, Apollo. I believe that's what the plan was. I could be wrong. That's what I heard at the time. And once I heard that, I realized, oh, so you only want me around for my Coam vote and my Noodle vote, and then as soon as we hit final 6, I'm out the door. That's not going to fly here. I'm making it to the end of this game. I voted for Stoows. I actually really had no clue whether that vote was solid because it did not seem very solid at 8, but it ended up being solid. Even Payton was on board. I talked to him. After that vote, I wanted to make sure he wasn't nervous about me, so I pitched the idea. I still wanted me, Leafy, Payton. That's the final 3 that I wanted around 7, 8. In my confessional at that time, I posted a ideal boot list. It was Stoows in 8th, Coam in 7th, Bernie in 6th, Noodle at 5, final 4 of me, Apollo, Payton, Leafy, and then just anyone but me at 4. If it had to be Leafy, I would have been Leafy, but I don't think I would have given Leafy fire if I was safe at the vote, no matter what. Because if I could have in that situation, if it wasn't a choice between Leafy and Noodle, it was always going to be Leafy against anybody else. And that started to fall apart for a few reasons. The first one was that Bernie had an idol. We knew he had an idol. He had told Leafy that he had an idol, I believe. I think that's how I heard about it. It was either that or we were just doing the math with the beast balls and we're like, somebody has to have an idol. Hunbi didn't give me or Leafy the beast balls. That leaves Bernie. Adam didn't give Leafy all of his beast balls. That leaves Bernie. Frodo didn't give anyone else his beast balls. That leaves Bernie. Like, it's just everything adds up. Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. And so we knew he had an idol, and we knew that everyone in this game loved Bernie before the blow up at 5. Like, he was just universally, like, he would have swept an FTC if that didn't happen. He made it to the end. Everyone would have leaked anything to him if I had gone at final 6. If I had gone and been like, hey, let's vote out Bernie, I would have been dead. I would have been unanimously. Noodle wouldn't. No, she wouldn't have. But it would have been. I would have probably gone out in 6th or close, or I would have been in big danger at 6th if I tried to target Bernie there. So I kept my mouth shut on that. And without Bernie gone at 6, we get to final. Well, final 7 was Coam. I don't really think there was much drama on that. That's when I got revealed that Noodle had an extra vote, and she came clean about that to me. She wasn't. I was very good with Noodle this entire game. I think she and I worked super well together. I legitimately have never talked to any single person in any social game half as much as I talked to Noodle this game. She became my rock at Merge when Leafy kind of took a step back in that respect. I never would drop Leafy below number 1 though. I stand Leafy to the very end. I have the utmost respect for everything he did for me at the start of this game and up to the end. And I would have never turned against him if it wasn't, the situation that was. Final 7 was the Coam boot. Like I said, I don't think anything really dramatic happened there. Oh, that was the first Let's Target Noodle vote, where I think Coam and Apollo voted Noodle. No, not Apollo. Definitely didn't vote Noodle. Coam and Payton maybe voted Noodle. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was 5-2 on Coam. And Coam went home and said, like, bad move, guys. And I'm like, Coam, you've wanted me out. You've wanted a Minior out. That was the thing. Even when everything was going on with Stoows, he always just wanted to take out a Minior. I'm like, what did we do to you, dude? Like, I guess, no, what we did to him was try to vote him out at the first merge tribal. That's kind of fair. But it was still, like, I had made up with him. Leafy was not, Leafy was actively targeting. Maybe we'll target Leafy then. Stop targeting me. I don't know why he called it a Minior. Like, don't drag me into this. I was innocent in the whole ordeal. But get to final 6. Final 6 is when the game kicked into like five gears higher than it had been all game. Final 6 gave me anxiety. The final 6 and final 5 votes were probably my 2 least favorite votes of the game, just because of how much I dreaded each and every moment of the game at that point in time. Final 6 was the what was the final 6 challenge? I'm gonna check it. Final 6 challenge was the cursed name the castaway based on the One Measure song from the cast intro. Oh god, that song's finally out of my head. Thank God. It's a good song. It's a great song. The host put on an amazing performance in that cast reveal song. It's honestly top tier. But I have listened to that song legitimately at least 50 times now, and I hate it now. It has been ruined for me. You took a great thing, you made a great thing, then you ruined it, and now it is ruined forever. And I will never listen to it again. I hope it never gets stuck in my head ever again, and I hate you for doing this challenge. But I got 22 out of 24. I made a dumb mistake. Payton ended up winning immunity there. No, wait, no. This is final 6 immunity. Payton won immunity, right? No, Apollo won immunity. That was the tiebreaker. Yeah, Apollo won immunity. I was looking at Payton 24 and I didn't realize Apollo won. Yeah, so Apollo wins immunity. It would have been hard to vote out Payton if he had immunity there. Apollo wins immunity. And everyone's like, let's get Noodle out. And here was the big, like, turning point. Or not another turning point, but a big, like, what's the right word for it? It was a point of reflection, I guess, where I was like, I have to really consider my position in this game. We're at Final 6. It's me, Bernie, Leafy, Noodle, Payton, Apollo. Apollo has wanted to vote me out at every single tribal since Final 9, I believe, because Noodle would come like, hey, Apollo wants to vote you. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, the sky is blue. So, that was always a concern where if Noodle ever left the game, Apollo would just actually submit his vote on me every single time. Bernie was untouchable just because he had an idol and he had all the support. There was no way to get him out of that game at 6. I was almost voting Leafy at 6, but I never wanted to vote Leafy at Final 6. And then, without Apollo and Bernie, because Apollo was immune and Bernie was untouchable, that left Leafy, Noodle, Payton as the 3 options. At this point in the game, I had put both Leafy and Noodle as my number 1 ride or dies in my trust rankings. I had both of them at the utmost trust, and I believe my path to the end was by keeping them in the game, because that would guarantee that there would not be enough votes to get me out of the game. And that left Payton, and Bernie also didn't want to vote out Leafy, Noodle, or myself. So he also wanted Payton. And Noodle wanted Leafy. Noodle wanted Leafy bad. Noodle was walking me through, I could probably pull it up right now, but I'm not going to scroll through 12,000 messages with her in that chat to find it. 12,000 messages with her. But she wanted Leafy. She was walking me through why we needed Leafy out. She also, on the side, walked through why voting her out would end with me getting in 5th place, which she was probably right about, because we'd lose the extra vote at 5. Bernie would have wanted me out. Apollo wanted me out. Payton probably would have wanted me gone, because he needed... we don't know who wins Final 5 immunity then, because obviously Noodle had won it, but it would have been tough, because there would have been 2 votes on me. There would have been the idol. There would have been the idol without Noodle there to tell me where the idol was going, which was big at 5. So I think I probably get voted out in 5th, unless Leafy and I pull off some kind of god tier move there. So she had a point. Voting her out in 6th. Also, Bernie didn't want to vote her out at 6th, so it was Bernie voting Payton, Leafy voting Noodle, Apollo voting Payton, Payton voting Noodle. And then, obviously, Noodle's not going to vote herself. So, Noodle was always going to get out of the... Noodle had 3 votes, right? Yeah, Noodle had 3 votes on her side. The only thing I could do was tie it. And I don't think tying the vote does anything. Like, you go to a tie vote between Payton and Noodle. I'm not going to rocks when the rocks are between me and Leafy. There's no chance in hell. Flipping, I guess, forcing a tie there would have made things... Because there's also the rule in this org, I believe, is that there's no discussion. It's an instant revote, which gave the chance for rocks. And a rocks would have been an ultimate loss there. So I had to vote Payton. Voting Noodle there would have probably just... It would have screwed me. So... had to be Payton there. I'm very glad that Noodle didn't force my hand and make me vote Leafy there, because I would have had to go with where the votes went at that point anyways, but unless Leafy and I could have pulled off some finesse with Bernie, but it didn't seem good. So I'm very glad that Leafy didn't go in 6. We get to Final 5. Noodle wins Final 5 immunity. I think I could have done a lot better at that challenge. That was the Pokemon spamming challenge. My internet blew up during that challenge. I was trying, because I had the Excel sheet up with all the Pokemon names, and I had all the rules next to them, so I was able to change them pretty quickly and copy them over, but it was taking like 10 seconds for the copy paste to work from Excel sheet to Discord. It was absolutely brutal. Thankfully, Noodle wins it though, and we're able to have a tribe. Well, this is there's no thankfully about this. Noodle wins immunity, so Noodle's safe. We're at a Final 5 where Bernie has an idol, and we all think that Bernie's idling himself. And I'm like, alright, so we get to the tribal, it's me, Apollo, or Leafy. Obviously, perfect world for making my little heart happy would be to vote Apollo, but that would have left a Final 4 of me, Leafy, Noodle, Bernie. And there's no winning in that Final 4. There's a little chance of winning with one of Bernie and Leafy gone, which we'll have to see about that, but if that Final 4 is all 4 of us, I don't think there's any chance of me ever winning. But get to the Final 5, and the bomb drops. Coam gave his idol to Bernie 20 minutes before tribal council. At least this is what we've heard. We actually don't. I don't actually know. I believed it at the time, but we haven't yet actually confirmed based on how tribal went. Was Bernie had 2 idols, and we're like, oh shit. Bernie can idol himself. Bernie can idol someone else and idol whoever he wants out of the game. We need to finesse Bernie at this vote. Because if Bernie gets what he wants at 5, Bernie's going to get what he wants at 4, and Bernie's going to get 8 jury votes, and he's going to get $50. So we need to stop that. It was a 2-pronged attack, sort of. Noodle was going to him and saying, we need to vote Apollo here, we need to vote Apollo here, which was always fake. Because she was telling me it was always fake, and she was always 100% with me at these votes, which was an absolute it was a boon for my sanity at these votes, because I knew Leafy 100% wasn't voting me. Even if Noodle was trying to tell me he was voting me, I knew 100% that Leafy wasn't voting me. And I knew that Noodle wasn't voting me, because she wouldn't have given me as much info as she was if she was against me, because she gave me a lot. Which left us at Final 5, where 4 votes out of 6 were guaranteed to not target me, and there was still a chance that all 4 of them could have gotten blocked and I could have been voted out of that game. There's no justice in that. But Bernie idols Apollo, doesn't idol himself, so technically there could have been a move where we voted him out in 6th, and then I could have won immunity in 4, or voted him out in 5th. I could have won immunity at 4, and we voted out Noodle, which would have also been heartbreaking in a different way, but probably it ends up with me winning the season if it's Final 3 of me, Leafy, Apollo. But those are called hypotheticals, and they're things that'll never happen. So didn't vote Bernie, had to vote Leafy. Probably the hardest vote I've ever had to make in an org ever. I legitimately could not sleep that night, the night before that vote. I was up and down all night, could not get any bit of relief from my anxiety. It was pretty tough. I didn't want to vote Leafy. I wanted to go to the end of this game with Leafy. I wanted to, if even in like a selfish, I don't want to win the game. I would have been really happy if the Final 3 was me, Leafy, Noodle. That would have made my heart happy. But I don't really think that was ever a possibility, unless very specific things happened. But voting out Leafy sucked. It really put a damper on the end of the game for me, because Leafy was my favorite player from the beginning of the game all the way to Final 5. He was never below Final 5, or never below the top of my trust rankings from the whole game. I've never had that happen before, and I don't know. Well, I'm very sorry I had to do it to you, Leafy, if you're watching this. It was... I legitimately shed a tear over that vote. I never wanted to do that, but it was the move I had to make to get here, and I really wanted to finally fucking get here, dude. It's been too long. Final 4, though. If those last 2 votes are like the real sad boy hours, depresso moment of this game, Final 4 is like, it's the precipice. It's the top of the mountain. I'm recording this the night after the Final 4 immunity challenge. So this morning, I was working on preparing for this challenge, and I'm like, Final 4 immunity for Smorgon, always works about the same. So I went back to every season from season 13 on. I could have gone back to season 11. I don't know why I didn't, but I went season 13 on and looked at all the Final 4 challenges. Season 13 was the jigsaw puzzle, the Pokemon anagrams, count up and down. I practiced counting up and down from 1 to 200 for this challenge, just in case. I had spam stuff down. I tried some anagrams just in case. You never know what's going to pop up here. I wasn't ready. I was ready for anything. Season 14 was just a bunch of challenges, so I skipped that one. Season 15, though, the All-Star season, was the same phrase thing. And while I was preparing for that, because originally I was, once again, doing it on this pen and paper, I need to stop going to pen and paper when it comes to things like this, because that's usually the wrong thing. That's usually the slow option. But I realized while I was going through it, I'm like, the best way to do it is to make a Google Sheet and have each of the little cells include one of the letters, so that you can change 1 or 2 and then copy the rest and bring it down. And once I figured that out, I was working a lot quicker through that one, and I was really confident that I could get that part done really quickly. Looking through for other stuff, I practiced entanglement for this. I practiced some Antris. I did not practice whatever Flappy Bird game we had to play. So thankfully we only had to get to a score of 2 on that. But I went actually, I'm historically god awful at jigsaw puzzles. I practiced every jigsaw puzzle that Smorgon has done since season 13. I reached out to a friend of mine, or not. Well, I would call him a friend, but we were kind of just adversaries in an org that we played in the past, and he is the greatest challenge beast I've ever seen. He's won. I think I've seen him win like 10 immunities in a single org before. He's ridiculous. And I reach out to him like, hey, I'm at a Final Four immunity challenge. How do I get better at jigsaw puzzles? And he showed me a few tips that I'd never seen before that actually legitimately improved my times quite a bit. I got the fastest score I've ever gotten in my life on a jigsaw puzzle on that website during the challenge. Fastest time. I remember, I think Tanner's time was about like 15 seconds below me if I remember, if I look at the screenshot from the challenge. So, you know, get wrecked, Tanner, honestly. Just blown the fuck out. But had I got very lucky on the Challenge Cup one where I was able to get that first try, because I think I was one of the only people to get that first try, which helped a lot. I had a panic attack when I was looking for Marshadow, the Pokemon with the base stat total, because first I googled it, and googling it gave nothing. Then I looked up base speed 125, and I was going through a list on like Cerebi, and Cerebi didn't have Marshadow on the list, so it didn't show up. Then I was scrolling through Bulbapedia. Bulbapedia didn't have Marshadow. I'm like, you know, screw it. I'm going to Pokemon Showdown. I'm going to Team Builder. I'm sorting by speed, and there was Marshadow. I calmed back down. It wasted a minute or so, but I brought it back and got back to like, I don't know, back to Zen. I might add, I don't actually think I've mentioned this at any point. I had my AirPods in during the challenge. I had this off, AirPods in, blasting Megalovania 10 hours on YouTube, just on a loop the whole challenge. That was the final boss music for Final Four challenge. I thought it was fitting. Got through that. What was it was Jigsaw puzzle, and then it was just a parchment. I used the Leafy parchment because obviously it was like the last one in my submissions channel, but being able to put the Leafy parchment in the Final Four was like, a part of him. We're bringing Leafy with me here to the end. I'm doing this for Leafy. We're doing it for Siphicon, of course. Hashtag do it for Siphicon. And that is legitimately one of the handfuls of immunities that I've won on my own in any org ever. I usually really do not win immunities. I'm usually not a comp beast, and I was able to pull that one out. Noodle called it. She was saying all day, I think you're going to win this, I think you're going to win this. And then I go and win the damn thing. Was, just highlight of my season, honestly. I think this whole day today has just been, you can't beat it. It's been a whole journey up to this point. It's been, playing season 2, season 4, which I really wouldn't even really call it Survivor. It was more just messing around with some friends, but playing Big Viver, all the orgs I have up till now, always getting cut, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, just never making it too far. But today we finally won Final Four immunity, and best feeling in the world. Can't match it. Obviously, some real life things will obviously surpass it, but in the context of online social games, you can't beat the feeling of Final Four immunity. It's unfortunate what happened after that. I won't touch on it too much. There's a lot of personal stuff there, but Bernie leaving the server puts a damper on things, of course. I hope that he gets the help that he needs, because it's clear he was going through it these last few days, and I've been there sometimes with orgs where they hit you hard and you get blindsided like that, and it doesn't feel good. Obviously he didn't handle it as well as he could. Obviously he wasn't in the best mental state as he was, so I'm not going to judge harshly. I'm just going to move on with it. But we made it. Final Tribal Council, all the way from 24 to 20. I never thought I was making it here this season. I really did not ever believe it was going to happen. I didn't know if I was ever going to make an FTC, honestly. I've told myself multiple times I don't think I'll ever do it, but proved myself wrong, proved anyone who ever said I wouldn't do it wrong. I don't really have many haters, but got here to the end. Final Tribal Council, 7 votes. Ideal world, if we're talking about a win, if you want to entertain the prospect of a win, it's between me and Noodle, of course. I mean, I love Apollo. Apollo and I have talked more in the last 2 days than we did all season. If you look at the trust rankings, there's a redemption arc there. It's don't trust, mostly trust today, all the way up to the top. He's a number 2, Not many people have been a number 2 on my list this season, but Apollo got to number 2 today. And it was a funny, I think I mentioned it in my confessional, where for the first 40 days I got good morning messages from Leafy, and then today I got my good morning message from Apollo. It was, a nice little twist to the story there at the end. But final tribal council, we got 7 voters, seven jurors, Leafy, Payton, Coam, Stoows, Frodo, Hunbi, Adam. If I'm gonna even entertain the prospect of winning this game, I'm gonna need all 3 Minior votes. I'm gonna need Minior strong to finally stay strong for 1 vote. We're gonna have to stick together, the little Minior that could, making it all the way to the end. I need Leafy's vote, I need Hunbi's vote, I need Adam's vote. I'll start with Adam. Adam, I don't really know his connection to Noodle. Obviously, he got voted out of this game like two and a half weeks ago. I don't really know what his attention level has been to this point, how attentive he'll be going into. It's hard being the first juror and then coming to try to make a vote for the winner of the game. So I think of the 3 Miniors, I legitimately have the best chance of getting Adam's vote, unless he follows the other 2 onto a Noodle vote. But I don't really know where Adam's head is at. I don't think I ever really did him wrong in this game, so I don't think he would have any reason to not want to vote for me. But I guess we'll have to see how that goes. With Hunbi mentioned Noodle as a threat multiple times. I think he called her out in his last thing. He had mentioned to Leafy that if he ever votes Noodle out, say it's for Hunbi. And he did that. That final 6 parchment for Noodle was a masterpiece. Stan Leafy for that parchment. He should win. Give the man $50. Give Leafy $50 for. Ignore all the other parchments. Just look at that final 6 parchment. It's masterpiece. Give him the $50. I'm not biased at all, but Hunbi could very well vote Noodle here. He could respect her game over mine. It's completely valid point. I do believe there's a lot of a case to be made that Noodle has a better game than me here, but I believe I would need Hunbi's vote. And it's very iffy. And then Leafy, I would hope he votes for me. After all we went through, for him to vote for me would be really special. I did stab him and vote him out. And he did say that morning, or was it that morning or the day before when we were on I think it was the day before on VC, where he's like, if Noodle makes the end, she has my vote. Like, she just wins the game. And there's a chance that Leafy votes for Noodle here, and that would hurt, but it wouldn't hurt nearly as much as he's probably hurt by me voting him out. So, in a way, I deserve it for being the asshole who voted out my best friend in the game. So, if that happens, that's the way it goes. The ones I think are pretty locked for Noodle, I think she's got Payton locked up. I don't see any way Payton really votes for me. He told me he's not voting for me, unless it was some big brain mastermind, I'm going to help SSR get to the end by saying I'm not voting for him when I'm actually going to vote for him move. I don't think that's the case. I think he's just not voting for me. Same with Stoows. I think Stoows is just super close with Noodle. May have suspected that I'm the one who leaked him, and especially I'm going to have it in my speech that I'm the one who leaked him, and I don't think he's going to be very appreciative of that. So that might swing him over to Noodle's side, or keep him on Noodle's side. I don't believe I even have him on my side at this point. And then Coam could be a toss-up. I don't really know where. Nobody has known where Coam's head at. One thing, I'll say this: Coam has really liked wanting to vote Miniors this whole game, this whole merge. Why not vote a Minior here, dude? Like, I'm okay with it now. Suddenly, if you want to write my name on that part, just slide it on over. I'm sure you have it written already. Just vote one more Minior. Why not? But I think he does go Noodle's side because he was with her the whole game. And they were fairly close, despite him being a bit eccentric and a bit antisocial at times. But I do believe that he votes for Noodle. I think those are her 3 votes guaranteed. Frodo's probably the ultimate toss-up here. They weren't close with me. They weren't close with Noodle. They were technically closer with me, but both Noodle and I had under 200 messages with them for the game. And I really don't know what they're going to do. We'll have to find out from it's probably going to come down to the questioning with them, with Frodo. And so for the ideal world where I win the game, I somehow win the game, get first place, it would need to be Hunbi, Adam, Leafy, and Frodo most likely. or maybe replace one of those with Coam, but I don't think that happens. I think it would have to be 4-3 with exactly those 4. And the way I see it going, if I were to be realistic, I believe it's probably either 6-1 Noodle or 5-2 Noodle, where I get 1 or 2 of Leafy Adam. I believe she gets Hunbi, Frodo, Stoows, Coam, Payton, and I maybe get Leafy or Adam, is the way I see it. But no matter what, I see this season as an absolute win. I finally made it to my first ever Final Tribal Council. I survived so much through this season to even get to this point. It's been an absolute blast. I've made a bunch of great new friends through this org. I've even some of the specs, like shout out Brandon, shout out Melky, shout out Zoa, shout out all these people who have been supporting me the whole way. Phones, Andy Snipe. Here, we'll go through. We'll give a shout out to everybody who congratulated me today. You all deserve it. Shout out to OM. Shout out to Daltz. I think Daltz asked that to everybody though, so maybe not Daltz. Shout out to Sid the Shuckle. One of the most underrated Smorgon players in history. Shout out to Sid the Shuckle. Sid the Shuckle for season 18. Come out, buddy. We want you to come out. It'll be a great time. Shout out to Laurel, even though that was probably also a question to everybody. Shout out to Laurel in general. Good guy. Underrated. Shout out to Mars. I do really wish I got to meet you in this game, Mars. I said that during Rites of Passage, but it just never got to happen. Shout out to RSSP. Yeah, we're shouting myself out in this one too. Shout out to Blakers. Great time there. Shout out to Clarence. I believe we've talked once or twice, and I know you've kind of been in and out of asking questions in my confessionals, so I appreciate you. Shout out to Tanner. He mentioned something in there today. Just shout out. Oh yeah, Matthew did it as well. Shout out to Matthew. I appreciate all the support that I've had through any of the specs throughout this whole season. It's been amazing. The reason why I came back to Smorgon was because, one, the hosts always put on an amazing season. All of the challenges this season were amazing fun. I never disliked. Well, no, I disliked the final 6. Guess the castaway from the Measuring the Song. Never do that again. If you ever do that again, it's hands, and I will find you and I will attack you on site. But every other one was fun. The murder mystery was a blast. The final immunity was probably my favorite challenge I'll ever do in my org career, just because of how it went. And it's just always put on great. The live tribals are a great touch that no other org does, and it's such a great experience doing this. If you're on the fence about coming out for a Smorgon season and you're an hour into my video confessional here, then you should definitely go out for season 18 or whatever season you can go out for, because it's an amazing experience. The other reason I came out is just because the community here is so amazing. We've got the Super Spec chat. I appreciate you guys naming it after me again. It's always an honor. There's always bumping in these seasons. They always get this. They're always pumping up the starboard. I don't think I got too much on the starboard this season, but I'm funny on the low key level. Throwing the back by unpopular demand me into the tribe chat. Oh, the thing I love doing. Started as a joke at Final 11, where I started going, congrats on Final whatever, everybody. That's a huge accomplishment in Smorgon. The shout out to Paul Abrahamian and Big Brother 19 when he would do it during every single eviction. And that I thought it would be a funny touch. Ended up, we're going all the way till the end, which was a fun time. But yeah, the community is always a lot of fun. Everyone's super. Everyone's always super accepting of new people in the community. I've made a bunch of friends just by playing this game and having people reach out to me, like giving me support and rooting for me throughout the season. It's been absolute blast. I feel honored to have been able to make it onto this season, to make it this far in the season, make it to the end of the season. I would be here at the finale, and I'm very glad that I decided to finally play again, and it's almost sad to see it end, because I've had so much fun with all this. What else could I do? That's probably all about it. Let's go for award predictions. What do they usually do for awards? We'll look at season 16. What do they do for awards in season 16? We'll do our predictions for that. Season 16 reunion, or maybe it's probably Final Tribal Council announcements, right? Yeah. All right, Robbed Preager. Well, my vote's Siphicon. hashtag do it for Sifakon. He was the most robbed player in the game. You could make an argument for WK, but they wouldn't do any of the people on OG tribes. Duck wasn't robbed. I can't comment on Navi. Alive. Well, Alive wasn't. I don't think Alive was very robbed. I think it's probably Nick would be the robbed preacher. You know, right before merge hit, he was the last boot. If they had won any immunities that whole time, he would have made it to merge. So I'd say that's probably him. The robbed juror, I think it's got to go to Stoows, because Stoows was playing a great game up until that. You can make an argument for Leafy, you can make an argument for Payton, but I think it's probably Stoows, just because he was playing a great game. He was playing a close to winning game, and then it just all came crashing down from an 8th by not no fault of his own, but by circumstances he probably wasn't really able to control, like not knowing that I was in a Shadow Alliance with Noodle. You're not really going to predict that at 8. The Chaos Cass. I want to say Coam just because of how much he was a thorn in my side, but it's probably... Who's the Chaos... Is it Hunbi? Who would you call the most chaotic person? It could be... I don't think Noodle gets it, though. It could be... I don't think it's me. I don't think it's Leafy. I think it would be Hunbi, Coam, or Payton. But Payton wasn't that chaotic, was it? That's an interesting one, though. Most chaotic... It might be Hunbi. Just because he had just such a dynamic attitude, and it was always, you know, he was always causing a little bit of drama. Maybe I would say Hunbi. That would be my vote for that. Class clown. Am I the class clown? I don't think I'm the class clown. I think it's probably either Leafy or it could be Hunbi again. Hunbi is a very good case for class clown. Or Payton. Payton would be a good one. Payton, Stoows, Hunbi, Leafy are my top 4. That's. I don't think Hunbi gets it. I don't think Leafy gets it. I'd say Payton or Stoows. Payton or Stoows would be my guess for class clown. Best move, I think it has to be Final 5. I mean, you could say Final 20, but Final 20 is fan service. Nothing pre-merge, really. Where you could just say the best move is the Shadow Alliance, but just, please, make a best duo award. Give us a best duo award. I don't care if it's me or me, Leafy, or me and Noodle, but God, give me a best duo award for this season. I deserve it. Best alliance. I wasn't in any alliances, but make a best duo award for this. I'm begging you. Make a best duo award. Craziest tribal pre-merge probably is Final 20. Unless another one on a different tribe was different, but I think most of those were unanimous. I think it's just slam dunk Final 20. And then craziest tribal post-merge, I think has to be. I mean, it could be Final 8. You could call it Final 8 because of the big flip. But I think it has to be Final 5 just because of all the extenuating circumstances there. The fact that all the advantages in the entire game were played at that tribal. I think that's just. I think it's. I'm trying not to be self-serving here, but I do really think the craziest tribal pre-merge was 20, and I think the craziest tribal post-merge was 5. Best parchments. I don't know whose parchments are which, so it's hard to really like pick this person or that person. I know Apollo didn't do many great ones. I think Leafy for the most part half-assed them, except for the big. Actually, I think Leafy did. Leafy did a bunch of good ones. I mean, I don't think it goes to Leafy though. As much it should be though. Leafy for best parchments, but I think it could go Hunbi. It could go Noodle. I don't know who's made good parchments. It's not me though. It could be me. I just stole my friend's designs. I did the Ultra Space redesign of it. I really liked. That was really cool, but. In general, I don't know who gets best parchments, but they're getting $50. The big ones, villain of the season. I think it's got to be Noodle. I think at this point, Noodle is just. I was talking about it with her tonight actually, and I was like, I think the perfect thing you can say about a villain of the season in an org is they can't keep getting away with this. If you're getting that kind of a reaction, you're the villain of the season. You're the one who just everyone wants to get you out, or everyone thinks that you're on the top, wants to take you down. And you just keep steamrolling over, you keep getting through, you keep surviving. I think that's Noodle this season. She's the villain. Hero of the season, I want it to be Leafy. It could be me. I guess it might be me. It probably is me, but I want Leafy to get hero of the season for this year. It would make me happy to see him be the hero, because I think the dude was nothing but heroic. I made villainous moves. I stabbed Leafy at a vote. I stabbed Scythian at the pre-merge. I was by no means an angel in this game. Leafy was loyal to a fault. voted for Apollo on his own there at the end. Never voted for me. Refused to vote for me. Only voted for Hunbi because he had to. And he was a homie to the end. He was the definition of a hero. The host and helper awards I'm not going to predict. Fan favorite Komala. Well, I don't think it's going to be Bernie anymore. It could be. I mean, it might just be Noodle. I don't know. Maybe King Kid for the entertainment value. I'm not sure, but I think it's either probably Noodle or I guess it's probably just Noodle. Bruxish could make an argument. I think it's probably Stoows on Bruxish. Bruxish is the fan favorite there. Minior. I'm gonna keep hyping up Leafy. Just Leafy for every award that he can win. Give Leafy, give him everything. The fan favorite overall. This is the first time I've ever played an org where I thought I even had a chance at fan favorite. So, who knows? Maybe that one's me. I think that's about all they usually do for awards. The rest are just episode titles. Aside from that, I think that's about all I have to say. This has been over an hour going off about this. It's been my whole journey from start to end. It's not over yet. We still have a final tribal council to get through, but I'm pretty happy about how everything went. It's been a fun time. I'm not going to ramble on any longer. If you somehow listened through a 70-minute video confessional of me rambling about this whole season, thank you. I appreciate you, listener, for watching. And that's about it. Have a great day.